record. There we go. All right, folks. So we're at 7 o'clock, so we'll get started, and then anyone who happens to join later can either catch up or can obviously watch the part of the recording that they didn't see if they need to. So good evening, everyone. I'm Mark. I'm your Executive Minister for Horseshoe Falls, Antler River Watershed, and Western Ontario Waterways Regional Council. For those who don't know, I've been in this position since March 1st. Before that, I was in congregational ministry, and most recently, I served at Drayton United Church, where I was there for almost 9 years. And I live in Harriston, Ontario, which is, if you aren't familiar with the area, which is about an hour north of KW, an hour north of Guelph, on your way to Lake Huron. So it's lovely to have all of you here tonight. Tonight is really just a little bit of an information session for people, and then a chance for you to ask some questions as well if you have questions that you're that I don't cover in what I'm going to share. So what I would invite you to do is, as I said, this is being recorded. And if someone actually wants the PowerPoint that I use, by all means, let me know, send me an email, and I can send you the PowerPoint, but we will also get this video on our Regional Council YouTube channel. So you'll be able to go back and watch. So take the notes that you want to take, but note you will be able to listen to any part that you missed as well. And you can always just ask me a follow-up question at a later date also. What I am hoping to do is I'm going to show you go through a PowerPoint presentation. If you have any questions during the presentation, if you could write those down and save them till the end, just in case I happen to answer your question 2 slides later on. We'll just save them till the end, and then if you still have your question, by all means, I'm happy to take questions. But let's just we'll try to stick to just the PowerPoint to start with. So I'm going to share my screen. And we'll get started. And I'm assuming that everyone can see it, and we're good to go. So this is an orientation for our General Council 45 commissioners, as I said, from our 3 regional councils. And also, if you were an alternate, to be here is great. I saw a couple of our alternates are here in the room, which is wonderful. Really appreciate the dedication and the willingness to serve in that role when it involves a little bit of work, but doesn't necessarily mean that the work pays off in the end in some ways. So appreciative of people willing to put in that time. So we're going to start with some important dates. Okay. So April 27th is our first an orientation session that is going to be put on by General Council. So it may cover a lot of the things that we're talking about now, but I didn't think people wanted to wait until April 27th to get some of this information. I felt like people might want to have some of this before then. So it will be an online session. All of these times that I have here are Eastern time until we get to actually in Calgary. So the April and June times, these are all Eastern. So 4 to 7 p.m., there will be an online orientation session. More information will come out about that, how you sign up, where you go for that in the future. April 30th is when they're planning to have the workbook done, that people can have a look at. We have 2 sessions before we actually get to Calgary. One on June 22nd from 4 to 7 p.m. That will be the actual opening of GC45. It will be online. This is one that we really, I say must attend. I understand that there are circumstances where people cannot attend a meeting. The orientation session, for instance, that's going to be recorded on April 27th, so you can always watch that another time. But on June 22nd and June 28th is when there is actually going to be discussion. We are actually going to be looking at proposals, working with who your discussion group is. So there will actually be work being done on June 22nd and June 28th that if you miss them, you just miss having your voice heard in those parts of the conversation. Okay. So June 22nd is 4 to 7 p.m., the opening. And then June 28th is 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. and 4 to 7 p.m. On June 28th, that is going to be a learning session and discussion session. So one of the things that they're doing a little differently at this general council is at previous general councils, there have sometimes been multiple times that you can discuss something. At this general council, what we are really trying to do is to have everyone talk about everything in your discussion groups, but you talk about it once. So there is from 11 to 2 and from 4 to 7, your discussion group is going to be given, these are the proposals that you are going to be discussing in this time. That's the time you have to discuss those proposals. So if you are not able to make those times or you miss some of that meeting, you will miss being able to talk about those proposals and feeding your voice in. We will talk a little bit later on more about that process, but I just wanted to make sure that was understood for what these dates are. August 7th is when we start in Calgary. We start at 5 p.m. local time, so that is 7 p.m. Eastern time. Most people are going to be arriving sometime on August 7th. Because it starts so late in the day, where the hope is that most people will be able to find a flight on the 7th, arrive during the day, be able to check into the hotel, and then come to the meeting for 5. There are some pre-start events for different groups. There's one for if you identify as Indigenous, if you identify as racialized, if you're there as youth. There are events before then that are actually happening on the 7th. So if when you register, you are able to sign up for one of those events, because that is a group that you identify with and you want to go to that event, you will then be arriving on the 6th when you're booking your flights so that you can then be there to partake on the 7th. GC45 concludes on August 11th, but it concludes late in the evening. So you are going to be staying in your hotel on the overnight on the 11th, and you will be getting flights out on the 12th. I think later on in a slide, I actually suggested you should have, I'll get to that when I get there, as I think reading this now, I think I made a mistake later on. So those are the dates when you will actually be in Calgary. So please note, if you are choosing, like we are hoping that people will come to Calgary, but you are choosing to join online as a commissioner and not going to Calgary, note that everything happens at local Calgary time. So if wherever you are, you're just gonna will have to adjust to that if you're joining online. More important dates. There is an online module for equity, diversity, and anti-oppression education that will be available in January. I don't think that has been finalized yet, but there will be a module that we're asking every general council commissioner to take the module and look at it, do it online, take your time, do what you need to for that. But then also please plan to attend one of these sessions on May 3rd, 4th, 15th, 20th, or 28th, where you will meet with other general council commissioners and discuss the module. So there's a individual aspect, and then there's a group aspect. And this is something that equity team is asking every commissioner to do as well. And so these dates, again, they'll be in this video, but you'll get more information on that as we go ahead as well. But if you know only one of those will work, then I'd suggest putting in your calendar already so that you can save that time for you. Okay, so where my share screen thing is, I can't see what the titles of my slides are. I should have brought them down further. So one of the things that is required of you is to allow the spirit to work. You are not elected as a general council commissioner to vote on issues that the way you think your regional council wants you to vote. You are there because your regional council chose you to go because trust your they trust who you are and how you are going to be present in the meeting to allow the spirit to work through you in what you hear, in the discussions you have, and so to allow you to vote the way that you wish to vote. Thanks. What is your role? Appreciate that. So that is just to make sure. I don't want you voting because that's how you think Horseshoe Falls or Antler River wants you to vote. You're voting how you feel you should vote, having allowed the spirit to work through you, listening to the conversations and having those discussions. Your role is also to come prepared. This is a lot of work. There will be a lot of proposals. It is a lot of reading and a lot of thinking in a short period of time. So it is very much recommended to, as best you can, not come tired, not come, come having done the reading. If you come having not looked at anything, you will not have time to look at it in the evening and still participate fully during the day because the days will be full. So please come being prepared, and that involves being well rested and as well. And then give yourself time. That is time for the spirit to work. But also don't think, oh, we have a meeting on the 22nd of June. So I'll read all the things on the 21st of June that I need for the 22nd. Give yourself more time than that so that you can have time to think about it, let it roll around in your head a little bit. There might be questions for clarification that you have on certain things that you have but you don't get that question the first time you read it. Sometimes it might not be till the second or third time you read it. So please make sure that you are giving yourself enough prep time to be ready for the events as well. Okay, so now we are looking at what is actually going to happen. Like, how does general council actually work? So what's going to happen is there are going to be learning and discussion sessions. So this is where discussion happens at these sessions. You'll be in small groups. There will be a facilitator for that group. There will also be a note taker. And this is where you are told, all right, we're talking about this proposal. And so you have a discussion about that proposal, about whether you agree or disagree with what they're asking, whether there's possibly another way of going about what the proposal is proposing to do. You have these conversations in your discussion groups. The notes from those conversations that you have in those groups are going to go to the Way Forward Committee. So every part of that discussion is captured, as well as what the consensus of the discussion group was. So you could, I believe there's going to be about 20 of you in a discussion group. I believe, don't quote me on that, but I think that's what I remember. So it could be that 18 of the 20 of you all think that there's one obvious answer for what to do with this proposal, and 2 people feel differently. So what will happen is the consensus of the discussion group will be that on a whole, the discussion group feels that this is the way forward. However, the notes will also reflect the 2 individuals and what they are suggesting as well. And all of that will be compiled by the Way Forward Committee. Once they have done that work, they will then bring to the general council body for decision what their suggested way forward is, having taken all of the discussion into account. So multiple options could be presented, that the Way Forward Committee heard A and B, and so are asking the general council body to decide between A or B. They could be asking the general council body to take no action because it seemed like the consensus of all the discussions groups were that this proposal really either needed more work or just wasn't something that the groups felt was needed by the church right now. So that will come to the general council body for a decision. When that comes, at that point, we're no longer discussing the proposals. So now we're discussing what the way forward about those proposals are. So that's where, again, I said earlier that you really want to make sure you can make the discussion groups to get your voices fed into that system there. And just so everyone knows, most actual decisions are going to happen in the last few days of General Council 45. A lot of the beginning part is going to be having the discussion, answering questions of clarification, getting the information, getting the notes to the Way Forward Committee, allowing them to do their work, and then the decisions will be made near the end of General Council. So things to note. All of you should have received a registration already. Logistics, perfect, thank you. All of you should have received a registration already. If you are an alternate, you do not need to register. You only need to fill out the registration information. If you're actually become a rep and are going to come to Calgary, then we'll get your information then. But for right now, they're asking alternates not to register. If you are not an alternate and are a rep, you are asked to register by February 28th. This is not booking your flights. This is just registering so that they can get things set up for hotels and that sort of stuff. There is a website, generalcouncil.ca, where you can find all things general council. This is where their proposals will be posted, I believe, but also you can get background information and you can find out information from past general councils as well. If you have a question, please email gc45info@united-church.ca. What we're trying to do is to get questions answered by a singular body instead of having 6 different executive ministers or even more different people, depending on our roles, trying to answer the same question and possibly giving slightly different answers. So if you do have a question about registering or anything like that, please email gc45info@united-church.ca. All right, travel. Oh, that one was low enough. I could read it. All right, so when we're traveling, we are going to be using oh, what can't I think of what it's called? There's a United Church booking service for travel, and I can't think of what it's called. It has a specific name. You'll be told it later.
Egencia.
It's Egencia. That's what it's called. I knew it was an E, but I couldn't think of what it was. Thanks, Neil. So you will be asked to use Egencia to book your travel because that means that the United Church automatically will be paying for your flight, so you don't have to be reimbursed for it. The info to book your travel will be coming in April, and we're hoping for you to book your travel in May. Just so you know, there will be information on how to use Egencia and how to do that. There will be support for that if you need support. You are responsible to get to your departure airport, but then everything after that is covered by GC, is what I was told. If you have a question about that, I suggest you email the info 45. So for example, if you happen to be living in London and there is a flight from London to Calgary, then you just have to get to the London airport. For myself, living in Hairston, I have choices of Hamilton or Toronto, and so I get myself to one of those airports, and then the travel is covered for me getting from there to Calgary. This is the one where, for you, Neil, it's a little bit different. I believe I would suggest that you just inquire personally about what's needed for that. I've heard lots of different suggestions on ways to do it, but for you, I would inquire as to what that will work the best. So as I said before, travel dates for most is going to be August 7th. unless you are going to be part of one of those groups that are meeting on August 7th. We're asking people to try to arrive by 4 p.m. local time, because hopefully that then gives you enough time to get to your hotel and then get to the venue after that. So you'll be departing August 12th. And so this is where I made a mistake. So departing after 2 p.m. local time is for people like me who have leadership roles, because we have meetings on the 12th. General Council is supposed to wrap up the evening of the 11th, so you can book a departure at any time on the 12th. So accommodations. So hotels, you will be assigned a private room. If you do know someone who is going to General Council as well, if you know someone on this call, or you know someone from another regional council or one of the leadership team, and you and them are willing to share a room, then please indicate that on your registration. We will not be matching people up. You will get a private room unless you say you're willing to share. If you are willing to share, that is greatly appreciated, because it ends up saving the church money by being able to do that. There will be a shuttle from the airport in Calgary to your hotel. We are meeting at a convention center, and so no one is staying actually on site where we're meeting. You will need to walk from your hotel to the venue for the meetings. I've been told by those who have done the walk that it is a level non-hilly walk. Their terms, not mine. So I have not made that walk, but that's what I have been told what it is. If you do have accessibility needs for mobility specifically, please make sure you mention them. If you have any kind of accessibility needs, make sure you mention them in your application. But if you have accessibility needs due to mobility, please make sure you mention them, because there will then be a very great effort in getting you to the closest hotel to the convention center. I was told the furthest one is about a 10-minute walk. So it's not outrageous, but for some people, a 10-minute walk is more than they can do. So please make note of that. So if you're bringing a partner with you, that is possible. They can stay with you in the room. They will probably have to pay for their own breakfast, because breakfast is covered for the General Council participants at their hotels, but they may have to pay for their own. If you're bringing a partner with you, they will have to pay their own travel to get there. And if you are bringing a partner, I would suggest that you do email GC45 info, just to make sure that you have all the information you need, and making sure that we have things set up properly. But that is fine. You are allowed to do that if someone wants to come and stay with you in Calgary, as long as they understand that you're going to be busy for a lot of that time. We do not have, due to seating, we do not have a lot of actual space for non-commission members to attend the meetings. So your partner could come with you to Calgary, but they can't come with you to the meeting. They could join the meeting online, I think, to watch, but they'd have to watch it from your hotel room. We don't have the space for people to come to the physical location. If you are planning on staying and enjoying Calgary, the mountains, any other part of Alberta, or BC if you're going further, you can say that on your registration that you're planning to extend your stay. And if you're planning to extend your stay while staying in Calgary, we will just book you in that same hotel room, so you don't have to move. And then whatever extra nights that you're wanting to stay, you will just have to pay for when you check in. Obviously, if you're extending your stay, but you're traveling to BC, you probably don't want to stay in the hotel in Calgary, so you don't need to mention that. This is just if you want your stay at the hotel in Calgary to be extended longer. Let us know, and we can make that work so that you don't have to leave your room. Okay, so a list of things to be checking off to do, not necessarily in this order. You do need to register for the meeting. Again, if you're a commissioner, if you're an alternate, hold off on that piece. You will need to book a flight later on. We do encourage the most economical way of traveling. However, understanding that depending on where people are, and it actually might be more economical if there's 4 people from Edmonton that drive to Calgary all together, right? Then it'll also be better environmentally. It might be better for 4 people to drive from Saskatoon environmentally, but it's actually maybe a little bit more economically. So we're trying to do the best you can. If I know of some commissioners on here who are planning on driving out because they're wanting to do that with their partner as part of a trip, that is fine. No, what will probably happen is you will not be reimbursed for your kilometers to drive there, because that would be a lot of money. What will happen is you will be reimbursed the average cost of a flight from your nearest departure city. So you'd probably be reimbursed from Toronto or Hamilton, what a return flight to Calgary would be. You will be reimbursed that amount. Again, if you're going to drive and want to arrange that sort of thing, please email the info. You'll need to do the equity, diversity, anti-oppression module. You will need to read the proposals. As well as proposals, there are also reports. So the proposals are the things we're voting on, that we're making decisions about. The reports kind of inform the proposals, because the reports kind of tell us what we're currently doing, what members of the general council staff and different offices in the general council are currently doing, which then helps to frame your conversation when you're looking at what the proposals are asking you. So please make sure you do read the reports as well as the proposals. Please plan to attend April 22nd or April 27th, June 22nd, and June 28th. Please come prepared. Please take care of yourself, as I said before. Even if you are coming in person, we are trying to do things online to make it easier for those who are online and those who are in person, so that we get all results at the same time for voting, instead of waiting for one group to vote and then the other. So please bring some sort of tech. As all voting, we're hoping that people will have a smartphone or tablet, which is probably the best, but all voting is going to be done online, even for those who are in person. There will be an app that we use to do that. Don't ask me the particulars of that, because I don't know. As well, please make sure you bring chargers for your tech that you are bringing. And if you have one, bring a power bank, as where we're set up does not have enough outlets for 280 people to all charge their smartphones or tablets at the same time. So please make sure that you have things that you can charge them in your hotel room. And if you happen to have a power bank to bring along in case you need it, that would be great. You're not going to be on your tech all day, because you will be having lots of conversations, but we would hate for it to get to 7 o'clock at night and you've run out of battery and can't vote. So you'll also know kind of what your tech can do. Like, I know my smartphone I won't need to bring a charger with me to the venue, because if I charge it overnight, I know I'll be fine until I get back to my hotel, even if I'm using it quite a bit. All right, there. Well, that was faster than I was thinking it would go. Excellent. So I think that is kind of the information that I have right now, that hopefully answering some questions and giving some detail about what we are going to be doing, hopefully help get you a little prepared, so you're not feeling too overwhelmed at the current time, that you have a bit more idea what's happening. So, one other thing that I wanted to mention is we will be, yeah, no problem at all, Laura. This is being recorded, so you'll be able to go back and have a look at what we talked about previously as well. We will be reaching out to look for table group leaders, as well as discussion leaders and possibly note takers for some of the the groups that we were talking about. So if someone reaches out to you, please prayerfully consider taking up one of those jobs. If you feel like you may have the gifts or skills to do one of those jobs, please email me, and then I will pass your name along, and to make sure that we can get people to fill that out. Also, please make sure in all of what we're doing, if you're a commissioner or an alternate, please hold all of our commissioners, all of our leaders, all of our planners in prayer as we get ready for this meeting, as we move through this meeting, and as we leave this meeting at the end of August, as it is quite a large undertaking. And so please hold everyone in prayer throughout the event and leading up to the event. So I'm happy to answer any questions. So if you're able to use your raised hand feature, that would be great, because I don't have everyone on my same screen. If you can't, then just unmute and start talking, and we'll sort it out that way. But if anyone has any questions or clarifications from anything that I was talking about, now's a good time. Aaron, go ahead and unmute yourself, and I'll do my best. Oh, I can't hear you. Your microphone, you're unmuted, but nope. Nope. Mine does the same thing. I have a button that messes me up. No worries. Could be that Zoom is just not recognizing your microphone in the same way. Obviously, it's recognizing your headset because you can hear me. Oh, you don't have to apologize. It happens. Yeah, if you can type your question, go ahead with that. So while Aaron is typing their question, does anyone have any others that they wish to ask at this current time? Yes, I was told that a smartphone is sufficient for voting purposes. So I will double check that. But if I find out differently, I will let you know. But that was my understanding. That was all I was gonna. Well, I'm not voting anyway, but that was my understanding, that was what would be needed. A tablet could work, and I think a computer probably could work as well. But I think the preference is a smartphone, because I think they're either going to have like just a QR code that will bring you to something that you can vote on, or there'll be an app to download that allows it to happen. No, good stuff. Is voting possible without tech? That is a good question, Jake. I don't know the answer to that, because I was told that we are asking everyone to have tech to do that. So I will double check. I will double check on that, and we'll get back to you. I would imagine yes, in that we can probably find somebody who has tech who doesn't need it to vote, and someone could use that, but we can't do that for 280 people. But my understanding is that the voting is all being done on tech. So if you don't have your own, then we just need to figure out a way of doing that. And I don't have the answer to that. All right, Judy.
So my question is, if you've already done an EDA module, do you have to redo it?
This EDA module is meant to be specific to things that might arise at a general council. So they are trying to gear it towards what commissioners might experience related to equity, diversity, and anti-oppression at a general council meeting. So there's that information. What I will also say is, I think, I'm trying to think of the best way how I want to say it. I'll just say it. They decided to add the EDA module after we had already voted on our commissioners. So when you became a commissioner, that was not made clear to you that that was going to be happening. So it is a strongly recommended, but we can't mandate it for any one, because it wasn't said you had to do it when you signed up to become a commissioner. It is strongly recommended because it will really be helpful, but it's not, we can't mandate it.
Okay, thank you.
And yeah, I think in the past they might have been able to make us do both, but because they didn't say it before this time, Neil, it's a little bit different. But yes, there will be Wi-Fi in the conference center to be able to manage this. All right, I'm going to go for Laura first, and then I'll read your question with Ton after.
Thanks, Mark. I read on the registration form that it asked if there was childcare required. I'm just wondering what that might look like, if you know any details about that. At the tri-regional meeting, we ran into an issue where obviously John and I are both participating, but things like the evening sessions weren't covered, or or things were covered when there wasn't actually voting happening, like the ordination was covered, but the session after it wasn't. So are there going to be considerations in that kind of?
I don't entirely know. I don't think I can answer that question. Partially because I think what they're looking at right now is finding out how many commissioners do require some kind of childcare, to then kind of know what they need to do about that. I will write that down as a follow-up for myself as well, and then can get back to you. Give me a second. I'm just Jake. To that. What? I would hope that they would take some of that into consideration for how that to have it for the whole day. I know it also sometimes it depends on what the age of the kids are, because some facilities require you to use their childcare service, which has specific hours, whereas some facilities, depending on the age, we can bring in youth or children leaders who can then do our own hours. So I don't entirely know what the situation is there. So I will find that out though and let y'all know. All right, Watan in the chat. Going back to the comments you made about what partners will need to pay for if they attend. You mentioned they will have to get their own breakfast. Does this mean the hotel provides only one meal, or will the partners be able to get other meals, lunch, and supper? I don't have the answer to that. I would imagine that there will be other meals available. Partially I said it that way is because you will, as a commissioner, will be eating breakfast at the hotel. You'll be eating your other meals at the convention center. And so they'll be on their own for their other meals. But that is a meal where you may be able to eat it with your partner, but they may have to pay, but they probably have to pay for it. So I will double check on that as well, because again, I haven't done the walk, so I don't know what is actually in the vicinity for food. So I will find that out and let everyone know as well. Judy.
So yeah, when you were talking about meals, that twigged for me that they're saying the Friday night they are going asking commissioners to say which venue you would like to go for a meal. And so does that mean that if you bring your partner that you can have them attend that meal as well, or is that only for commissioners?
I do not know, because I did not get the registration that you got, and mine is different anyway. So I don't know that is news to me even. Neil says there's a McDonald's, but that's not useful information. So I don't know. I will find that out as well. Friday night. I would imagine if you're bringing a partner, if they are able to go to the special meal, that they would have to pay. But I don't know if there's space to have them come as well, like I said, for the meetings. So I will find that out. Carol.
Mentioned a way forward committee after the small groups had got to consensus. Can you explain a little bit, or does that happen at a later instruction meeting?
That will happen. They'll give more information about that at the orientation, most likely. Basically what it is it's a group of individuals that are going to go over all of the notes that every discussion group gives, and then try to synthesize those into this is what the notes are saying overall to give us a prescribed way forward. The general council body then has to vote on whether they agree with that way forward or not. So the way forward committee does not actually make a decision on what the general council is going to do, but they help to give direction, as opposed to, we've all been in meetings where you get a proposal and then there's all kinds of different discussion and amendments and all sorts of things that takes a long time to get through that proposal when you have 280 people. And so this is a way of trying to mediate that by having smaller groups to have the discussion, then take all of that discussion, feed it through one discerning body who then reports back to the general council what they heard the general council say they wanted to do around this proposal, and then the general council makes a decision on what that is said. Does that help?
Thank you.
Okay. Don't ask me who's on that committee, because I do not know. I don't know that they've all been chosen yet. Question: are we able to book flights outside of the August 7th to 12th dates? Yes, you are. Part of the August 7th to 12th dates those are your hotel days that are being covered for by the United Church. So if you want to arrive early, you can. If you want to stay late, you can. Please email info 45, whatever, what GC45, whatever that email was. Please email that and let them know that you're planning on staying late, and they will then be able to give you or let you know if they require extra information, or because as I said, I know if you're staying late, they can keep your same hotel room. I wasn't told if that's the case if you come early or not. So I don't, you might have to figure that out yourself, but yeah, you don't have to just book those days. But if you're staying outside of those days, you may have to pay for your hotel room yourself. Flying back on the 12th shouldn't be a problem, as we don't have any meetings that day, so you should have a full day to be able to choose flights. Thanks, Watan. There's so many information that I have, I can't keep it all. GC45 info at United Gas Church. I thought that's what it was. What they are willing to do, though I have heard, is if you can't find a flight that works for you on the 7th and you have to fly in on the 6th, that there is the possibility that General Council will cover your hotel on the 6th. But they're hoping that most people can fly in on the 7th to save that extra night hotel. But if you're wanting to travel and that sort of thing, yeah, that's fine. Like I have, my family lives in Edmonton, so I'm gonna fly into Calgary, and then someone's gonna come get me at the end, and I'm gonna fly home out of Edmonton, and I'll still get both flights comped. It'll just depend on, it might not be the exact price. If my flight out of Edmonton is $200 more than what a flight out of Calgary was, they won't pay the extra $200, if that makes sense. All right, these are good questions. I'm able to answer some, not as many as I would have liked, but I'm able to answer some. Does anyone else have any other questions? Chris again.
I know, sorry. I write it and then
That's
I'm going to say it. So Mark, I've heard you talk a couple times about alternatives that are on this call. And I'm assuming if you're an alternative that you've been clearly communicated that to you. And if you haven't heard that in any of your correspondence, then we're a commissioner.
I would assume that as well.
Okay.
And I will, what I can do, yeah. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure when I sent the emails out originally, that we let people know who was an alternate and who was a commissioner. If you are not sure, I have the list up here. So if you are not sure, you can send me a private message either here in the Zoom chat or send me an email and I can let you know. So you are a commissioner, Chris. You are not an alternate. So don't worry. Yep, no worries. Right. That's good. Good question. Anyone else have any other questions? And you don't have to have them right now. There is GC45 info at united-church.ca. You can also obviously send me questions as well, and I will find the information out and get it back to you if you prefer to do that. But we would prefer if you have a follow-up question to go that route. I have 4 questions about voting with tech or without tech, childcare situation, food for partners around hotels. That's not McDonald's. And the Friday night special meal for partners. So I will follow up on those questions and I will just send, once I get the answers to all 4 to save on emails, I will send it out to everyone on the list who got an email for this so everyone gets the answer. But I'll wait till I have answers to all 4 questions instead of sending you multiple emails. All right, and thanks for those who have sent private messages about willing to be a group leader or something. I appreciate that as well. If an alternate names a commissioner, how will they find out? They get a lovely email from me saying, congratulations, we require your services. So what generally happens, and so this will be the reverse, if you are currently a commissioner and something comes up that you no longer feel you can serve as a commissioner, either you don't feel you have the time, you get very ill, another family situation or work situation comes up, or you just feel like you don't have the heart for it for some reason, that changes, that is all fine. Please tell me as soon as you know that you don't want to do that. Because that would be incredible. That the sooner that I know, the sooner I can let the alternate know, which means the sooner they can be getting themselves ready. Which is very nice. Okay, Judy.
Yeah, 3's the chime.
Yeah.
So when you were talking about volunteering for some of the positions that that they may be looking for, one was a facilitator, one was a note taker,
and a table group leader.
And a table group. So could you give some explanation a little bit about what each of that requires?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to answer. I've gotten so many private messages in chat. So if I haven't answered you, don't leave the meeting until I've answered you. Note taker is going to be someone who can take the notes, but can take detailed notes, capture everything that's being said, and also the consensus of the group, which it can be challenging. So we will be looking for people with specific skills to be a note taker. It's not just writing down necessarily what you heard. It will be a little bit more than that. The discussion facilitator is going to be someone who's going to be leading one of the discussion groups about the proposals, right? So that person will have 20 people in their group, that will be online, and then when you're in person as well. And your job is to help lead this. There will be orientations and training for these, if you are chosen or requested to do one of these jobs. So the discussion leader leads the discussion about the proposals, trying to make sure every voice is heard, trying to figure out, make sure we get a consensus for the group, and at the same time, trying to keep track of time, because you're going to have 2 hours and like 5 or 6 proposals to talk about in the 2 hours, possibly more. So it'll be like, all right, we have 20 minutes. And figuring out how to make sure you can manage the discussion to make sure all voices are heard, and do that as you move through. Table group leader is maybe something that people are more familiar with. It is the leader of a table group when you're in Calgary, when you're in person. And so that is, again, making sure to some extent, people get to know each other, that people are, if someone has a question about process or something like that, they can come to you first, and then you can help find the answer if you don't know the answer. But trying to make sure that the people who are seated around the table while you're in Calgary, can kind of build and foster some community themselves. The table group leader has that different function of trying to help build community with the table than the discussion group leader. The discussion group leader is more like a chair of a board sort of thing, would be my best thing of what their role is in trying to get things done. Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. So I'm just responding to private messages in chat. So if someone has another question, please, by all means, add it. Did I answer your question, Neela and Jennifer? An alternate gets named because I'll send an email saying, hey, do you still want to be an alternate? Because we have a space for you now. And that's basically how that goes.
Perfect. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah. Right. Well, oh, there we go, Tabitha.
There's no dumb questions, but here's one.
No.
So for the audio, when we're there, not only will the speaker be mic'd, but will there be mics across so that we can actually hear if people are bringing things to the floor?
Oh yeah, there'll be mics that if someone wants to say something, they will be talking into a mic. We won't. We will have to probably remind people to talk into the mic, because we've also all been at meetings where people just, oh, I'm loud enough. Like, no, you're not. So yes, there will be ample audio equipment to make sure that people can be heard. Like I said, we're at a convention center, so like we're not just in a church basement, so they are used to running these sorts of things. So I'm expecting the tech to be good, because this is what they're this is what they do.
Great.
Yeah, no problem. Every time I answer a question in chat, it puts it back up again, so I have to read them all over again. All right. If you have no further questions, then you are welcome to go, and just make sure that I've answered if you asked to send a private message. But otherwise, oh, Louise has a question. Go ahead, Louise.
What is the name of the convention center so people can Google what's around it?
Oh, that's a good question. I have no idea. I haven't bought. You can see how much I really just fly by the seat of my pants, Louise. I don't know. I haven't even got my registration information yet, right? Like it hasn't been sent to the
came
leaders.
over. It just popped up as I was coming into this meeting.
From what I've seen in the
TELUS Center.
registration, it's the TELUS Center.
TELUS
TELUS Center.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
If there is such a thing, that might be it.
I believe there is. So yeah, by all means, Google that, and you'll be able to see what is around. Excellent. Any other questions?
I was just gonna say in the registration email, there's also a link that's called Dine Around, which will direct you to restaurants that are presumably nearby.
Perfect. Awesome.
That's where I saw the TELUS Convention Center as the location. These restaurants for that are all in that area. Might not want to dine at these every time.
No doubt. Well, and for like I said, for some of them, it we should be being fed at the convention center as well, I believe. So, but again, that sort of, man, you folks are really prepared if you're trying to figure out where you're going to have lunch on August 8th. Like that's, I don't roll that way. So,
It's part of the
so yeah.
registration.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it is. Like I said, haven't got there yet. So, so yeah, if you have other questions about that, then yeah, send an email and that, or an email to the info, and that would be great. Oh, look, there's even Dawn has got the address up there. Excellent. All right, I think I have gotten through all of. Oh, I had a direct question. I won't say it was from, but if I'm going to be providing sweet treats for the commissioners from these 3 regions. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I have been known to bring goodies for when the leadership team meets for the regional council meetings. So I have a Mennonite bakery just down the road, so it provides very nice things for us. They won't travel as well to Calgary though, so just saying. Awesome. All right, thanks everyone. Hey, look, we kept it under an hour too. That's excellent. Thank you so very much for taking the time tonight. Really appreciate it. Again, any more questions, reach out, or info GC45 at united-church.ca. And as more information comes out, we might even in the past, once we kind of know what all the proposals are, we might see if we can hold a meeting like this before we start, just so we can talk about even what the proposals are, and if there are any in there that are actually specifically would impact our regional councils in different ways, more so than maybe others, because that can happen in some things. So we'll see if that if we have time to do that, we'll try to do that as well. But yeah, thanks everyone. Have a great night, and we'll see y'all soon.
Thank you, Mark.
No
Thanks, Mark.
problem.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Always like to see who's the last ones on. Hi, Rebecca.
Hey Mark, how you doing today?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm okay. I got my cast off today, so it's been a weird day.
That is a weird day. Does it feel different?
Very weird. It
You
doesn't
can
feel
itch it.
well, it hasn't been itchy, but just to be super graphic and gross for a second, I had a shower when I got home and the extra skin
Oh yeah.
clumps in my hand. It was so
Yeah.
gross.
That's gross.
Delightful.
Yeah. No, that's gross. Yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh, at some point, either this spring, probably not summer, or fall, we should plan for me to come to your churches so that I can thank them for letting you be president and explain to them kind of a little bit about what that means, and let them know that they'll be getting $2,400 to help for pulpit supply over the 2 years that you're president, which is a nice perk. They usually aren't expecting that, but are very pleased. So yeah, we should try to find a Sunday that might work for me to come.
Just want to do the circuit with me.
Yeah. Well, no, yeah. I would come in. Yeah. How many churches do you have? Right. You have 3? 3. And you do them all on one Sunday, right? Yeah. Now, yeah, I'd spend the time and come to all. By the time we got to the third one, I might leave after the opening announcements.
That's okay because at the last one we do all of our socializing before the service anyway.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, the last one I might leave before after the opening announcements because as much as I love you, hearing your sermon twice is probably going to be good enough.
I got to tell you, Mark, I don't know how often you've had the opportunity to preach multiple times in one day, but
My first pastoral charge, I had 3 points.
I
Nine,
cannot
9 o'clock, 10:15, 11:30.
I cannot tell you how often I'll say something in the second service and go, "Did I say that
Yeah.
in the last one?" And then I'll get to the third one and I'll be like, "Did I say that?"
For me, what it was my jokes got more refined.
Oh,
Is
yes.
I take stuff out. It's like, well, that didn't get if it didn't get a laugh at this church, it's definitely not going to get a laugh at this church. So we can just skip over that part, right? So I would I definitely do that. That or if something really did get a good laugh, then I definitely make sure that I keep it in for the next one. The other thing that I noticed is I had to make all my own PowerPoints, and so by the third service, the PowerPoint would actually be accurate because I would have typos. Yeah, exactly. Edited on the fly as I go. My worst one ever because it never underlined it. I hate it when it just changes it to another word that's actually a word. And
Yeah.
so then I don't catch it. So I had one that I said, I wanted to say, and in God we have life. And I forgot the F. So it was in God we have lie. And it's like, that's not even close to what I was trying to say.
When were you ordained, Mark?
I was commissioned in 2015.
2015.
But my 3 point pastoral charge was before that. I was a student minister. It was just the other side of Orangeville. It was called Mono Mills. It's closed now. But it was from one church to the next, and back to the first church was 32 kilometers.
That's just sort of like southwest of where I am.
Yeah. No, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, because are you Nottawasaga Rob Roy? Is that you?
Well, it was in Ottawa, but
Okay.
now it's Rob Roy, Badgeros, and Temple Hill.
Okay.
Is Rockland, it's about 20 minutes south of Owen Sound.
Okay.
That's the last one. So I do a 9,
Yeah.
a 10:30, and a 1.
And a one. That's
Because
gonna. Do you get lunch in between?
I either bring one or I stop at this little store, but they also always have snacks in Temple Hill
Okay.
because
I just need to know what I got to come prepared for, right?
it's 45 minutes between Badgeros and Temple Hill, so
Right.
I needed to give myself an hour and a half just in case the weather's bad or
Yep.
something happens.
No, for sure. Well, and that's why mine was literally it was 9 o'clock, 10:15, 11:30.
Yeah.
Because it was like 10 minutes in between each one. And that's where I got really good at preaching really quick. Because I realized that people would rather have the 5 minutes of handshakes than the extra 5 minutes of sermon.
Oh yeah,
Right.
for sure. So do you know, Mark, as president, will I have roles at
I don't think no, I don't think so. Like it's one where I'm not entirely sure. Because when I was president, it was the online one. So it's very different, right? But I didn't have any specific roles except, nope, I'm a general council commissioner. And when we introduce ourselves in any group, it's like, yep, I'm president of WOW. That's why I'm here, right? Like, so I'm the commissioner because I'm president. Like that, there wasn't anything extra special I had to do. So I don't think there is anything prescribed for the presidents to do. You will, if something hasn't been sent to you already, you are going to get sent something for going to Newfoundland for the for the June 8th service. That and the regional council will pay for that because we're given money to do that. So
assumed I was supposed to be going to that. Well, that's the case. If I don't have any particular role at GC, then you can put me on the list for whatever. I'm happy to table group or facilitate or whatever is needed. I'm also 100% okay with not if you have a glut of volunteers. I'm not going to be heartbroken by not.
Yeah. No, that makes, yes, I hear you on that. I hear you on that for sure. Okay. Yeah, it turns out with everyone we need, it's like a third to 2/3 of the commissioners are going to have a job. So just because we have that many positions that actually are needed.
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah. Awesome. All right, I'm just gonna write down all the people that volunteered and we'll call it a night.
All right, Mark. Have a good rest of your night.
Thank you. You too, Becky. Bye.
Bye.